morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode, I believe, 510 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryo Media Network. Today, recording day, is Monday, November 11th, 2024, Remembrance Day, and it is a solemn-looking gray day here at the Beaver Lodge of Pheasant Meadow. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, eh? And not with me today is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, of course, because we had to cancel this morning's show originally. Unfortunately, kids and cubs, we had a Remembrance Day special planned for you, but our guest, who is a veteran, Kid Hugh, is supposed to be with us as well to help us with this because he has a historical background. But our guest, who is a veteran, unfortunately, we got word yesterday evening had taken rather ill, and we had nothing else prepared. And not wanting to do an episode to wing it on Remembrance Day, basically, or to do an episode that we weren't talking about things related to Remembrance Day, since we had, promised a Remembrance Day special. We figured not to try to figure out a way to sort of do something, but that wouldn't meet our usual quality, particularly on a day like today. Now, we have gotten very, 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 very good news. Family members of our guests have contacted us to let us know that they are doing significantly better. So that's a relief. And hopefully, when our guest has regained strength and energy, we'll be able to do our special at that point. So it might be Remembrance Day, just a little postponed for us here at the Beaver Lodge. But the guest, yes, is doing okay, Kid Saucy. Let's stop and read the comments. Okay, I will. Let's see what it is. What is that? I'm guessing like from the time I started the show, Kit Jillian, you're asking here? Mashadika. They love us. They really love us. Mr. Jem, yes, we do love you. And we get a reward for being loyal kits and cups, says Kit Linda. Kit Mullen asks if there are any vets in the chat. So that's cool there. If there are, please do speak up. Let's see, what else do we have here? I'm reading the chat. Kid Saucy, sorry to interrupt. Your mic needs to be turned on, slightly adjusted. It seems to change depending on position. Yeah, that's because I'm actually not using the mic. This is just for visuals today. Kit Saucy, I have to do the thing through the phone. Unfortunately, as was the case last week, the sound on the main computer is not working. So I am going to have to find some time to set up the new one. As you know, Kits and Cubs, there's been a lot going on here uh, at home for the last little while. And setting up a new computer and trying to figure out how it works has been very, very low on the priority list. But since my desktop no longer seems to be able to broadcast audio using the software that we have for this microphone, I'm probably going to have to find some time today to actually do that and test it, and hopefully that will work out. So not sure if we'll be able to have a show tomorrow as well, or if we do, it might have to be through this way again until we get everything set up. Tech is not my strong point. So there's setting up the computer itself, and then it's Mac, and what I have now is PC. So learning the entire interface, and then being able to load up all the external things, keyboards and this mic, and program it, and the camera and stuff. So not exactly my strong point. I'm sure I'm capable if I spend some time reading up on it and figuring it out, but it will take some time. And then once I get everything working, it's not necessarily sure that everything's got broadcast yet on the first try. We might have to make some adjustments. So hopefully that will all work out. But yes, I will now absolutely have to make the switch. This goes up the list of priorities. I've been able to keep on pushing it back because this whole thing was still working, but it seems that it is on its last legs indeed. So there you go. Yeah, if there are any Mac people in Kingston, that would be really helpful. Hopefully, there'll stop being incompatibilities between this mic. All the problems with the old computer started happening once we installed this microphone and its software. So hopefully that those problems will not translate. They don't seem to be doing so for Mr. Grizzly, so hopefully they will not for me as well. So yeah, that's basically what has been going on with regards to the show itself. So unfortunately, we were caught with our pants around our ankles a little bit and didn't actually have the show for you today. Um, I forgot to say that we should thank our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries, and Golden Moon Publishing, who stay with us even if we don't have a show. But Kits and Cubs, you all did this wonderful thing. Since the show didn't actually come on, we didn't have an opportunity to actually end the show, which meant that the chat kept working, even though we didn't go live with one. And you have been with us for the better part of an hour before I went live. Well, better part of an hour, a full hour. Basically, I went live 1 minute before the hour. And just chatting with each other and having a good time on this day. And well, that provoked a warm fuzzy. There was some comments there. I think Kit Saucy said, that she would listen to me talk about fog or something like that. And I think there was somebody else, it might be Kit Saucy as well, or some kids that expressed that they might have been having a harder time of late and were looking forward to the distraction. And I know how that feels. If you were watching the podcast over the course of the weekend, as you know, it's been rather tough over here at the Beaver Lodge as well, and for a sustainable amount of time. So, yeah, even though today is a very happy day at the Beaver Lodge, well, it's a celebratory day because it is the official day of our anniversary. We met on the 10th, so we always start celebrating on the 10th, but we met around 10 o'clock at night, and so we consider the 10th and the 11th, both of them, to be our anniversary day, but the 11th is the day that we held hands. So that we knew that there was something a little special going on. So it always coincides with Remembrance Day, which, hey, makes it easy to remember. No pun intended. um, so yes, I never have to worry about forgetting my anniversary day because it always falls on a holiday. So there you go. But yeah, it and we have plans. And I saw some kids asked whether or not our dinner in Ottawa went well, and it did. We had a beautiful dinner. At first, we were wondering, we were looking at the food come in, going, "That doesn't look like it's going to be enough food for both of us." Uh, but turns out that it was, uh, and we had a just a lovely evening. Beautiful restaurant. If ever you're in Ottawa, it's called Shefali. Um, it's Indian cuisine, probably more from the Bengali region of the nation. Uh, but beautiful setting, beautiful ambiance. Our server Ali was just a pure delight. If there's anybody from Shefali watching, you do not pay that young man enough. He deserves praise. Okay. We had a beautiful, lovely evening, um, gorgeous dinner. Uh, and I think I mentioned on the podcast how I was pretty good at being sneaky. Well, turns out this time I didn't have to be sneaky. I managed to go get my sweetie some flowers on a podcast today because he had stepped out to go watch our nephew, Beaver nephew, play at the Ontario Volleyball Association Fall Classic in Ottawa on that day while I was doing the podcast. And so I took a moment to go to a flower store in Ottawa, also Kids and Cubs. By the way, if you are in Ottawa, this business in Ottawa was really, really unique. Uh, and I thought it was very ingenious, and I hope maybe to one day to have maybe the owner on it. But I think it's called Bloom's Cafe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in Ottawa, or Lux Blooms Flower Cafe. And you look at the front, it's very pink, and there are flowers um, hanging from the store sign. And then you go in, and inside it is very, very pink. Very pink. It's an explosion of pink. It's like Barbie would love it. But it's an actual flower store, so you can buy flowers and all that kind of stuff. But it's also a cafe. So, for example, you can order your flowers, and while they're arranged in a beautiful bouquet, whatnot, have a nice cup of tea, have a pastry, and go in and have a lovely time. So, or you can buy flowers and a pastry to bring home to your beloved. One-stop shopping, right? So, yeah, if you are ever in Ottawa, it's at 254 Dalhousie Street. Please do stop in and give them your business. They are absolutely delightful to deal with. It was a beautiful shopping experience, beginning to end. So, yeah, if you're looking for a unique business and you have an opportunity, please do. And also, Kids and Cubs, if you happen to be in Ottawa or visiting Ottawa, Shefali restaurant that I mentioned before is at 308 Dalhousie Street. So please, and they haven't paid us or anything for any of this. This is just my personal recommendation. Um, so um, if they're listening and would like to sponsor us, that would be great. But no, we are definitely. Um, these are two businesses that are worth your patronage. We have Kid Toronto Dan going, I don't need flowers, etc. A six-pack and a cheesecake will do it for me. Everybody has their own love language, my dear. Everybody has their own love language, my friend. If we were a thing, trust me, I'd have you up to your ears in cheesecake and six packs. Oh man, my sweetie particularly loves chocolate croissants and apple cake. So there you go. Kids and Cubs. But yes, you were all in the chat and you were carrying on and saying all these wonderful things about the show. And, you know, again, even though it is a celebratory day, I could use a little love today as well um, from the damn fam. Uh, it's no surprise that uh, my time with you is very special, and you do a lot for me as well. So I thank you for all of that, and even though it is a day of celebration, yesterday was a bit of a tougher day, just in general. Um, as you know, my Beaver sweetie had a car accident in June, and yesterday we went to to see my nephew play, and we had to borrow my for all intents and purposes brother-in-law's car to run an errand, and I was a bit more of a nervous passenger, simply because my Beaver sweetie was driving and driving his brother's car. Right, that would be the perfect time to have yet another accident. So we were being extra cautious, and unfortunately, we had a couple of people, pedestrians and other vehicles, um, that didn't seem to quite know what it is that they were doing or where it is that they wanted to go or where it is actually in the universe they were actually located. There were a couple of people just meandering in the middle of the street. And yeah, exactly. Kid Carol, a little PTSD. And yeah, people were doing unpredictable things on the road, and that made him nervous. And rather than exercising the option of just stopping and waiting for all the people that were doing predictable things to stop doing unpredictable things, he tried to get out of the situation as quickly as possible. We did not have an accident, uh, but we almost did twice. Uh, Once almost ran into an actual pedestrian because the pedestrians don't come with turn signals on the back of their heads, and they decided that they were changing direction all of a sudden, um, and then changing direction again, then again, and then we almost got clipped from the front twice by cars that were trying to pass, go around us as we were trying to parallel park. So much so that my Beaver sweetie actually like came with sound effects, which really raised the tension for the rest of the for the next little while. So it was a bit of a rougher day yesterday, and we tried to talk it out a bit yesterday after the tournament, after we had got back home, and it wasn't. More time might have been needed before that conversation, so it was rougher as well. All well that did end well. Um, yeah, it was a tougher conversation, but we did get through it, and the evening ultimately ended well. But it was a yeah, it was a rougher day and rougher evening with some good stuff in between. Yeah, Kittle and Diane. Heaven forbid someone wait 3 seconds while you parallel park. It's your words and his voice that I'm hearing right now as I read that. But the good news from the day, other than everything ultimately ended well, the good news for the day is that my Beaver nephew's team, the Venom Cobras, had a very good tournament. It was fall classic. It was under boys. Well, I mean, there were four. There was under 18 boys, under 16 boys, under 18 girls, under 16 girls. So there was a lot of volleyball going on in the EY Center in Ottawa, and it's very echoey, very loud. Whew, but quite exciting. And so many 16-year-olds that are taller than it's unreal how big these kids are these days. Oh my word. Jeez. Um, they're massive uh, and athletic. And it's really weird too because in that age group, there are like people. There are like young men and young ladies who look like young men and young ladies, and there are still people that still have that like that childlike boyish, and they're all intermingled. But all of them are huge. Some of them are just still gangly, and some of them have started to fill out though. You know, so it's a really interesting thing to see. But oh my word, they the level of athleticism is just incredible, and the volunteer support, the parents that are there, they're just I didn't see any incidents of like parents like yelling weird at the refs or just going crazy. Didn't see anything of any parent not being anything but completely supportive. If their child's team lost, um, you know, you know, need water, need food, need this, need that. It was just beautiful to see so many like really engaged and involved parents and kids learning all the lessons about sportsmanship and teamwork. So that part was fantastic. But for my nephew, his team, because last time I saw him play was in March, was in May. Oh my God, the set patterns, the plays, you can see like all six of them like move in a direction as they're following the ball. You can see um, the improvement in just 6 months. Now they're practicing 2, 3 times a week, but oh my God, they are so good. I mean, I play a little volleyball, but nothing like that. So there were 20 teams in the tournament for the under boys 16, and through the round robin, they got divided into A and B divisions, and the team Venom has an A and a B team. The A team is the Venom Mumbas, and the B team is the Venom Cobras. The Venom Mumbas qualified in A, and the Cobras qualified in B. The Cobras actually qualified first in B. So the 20 teams, they finished 11th after the round robin. The Mumbas went on to win the gold medal for the entire tournament for the under 16. So that's the team that my nephew aspires to get to. But this year he is on the B team, and they played their 6 round robin matches, and like I said, did very well. Finished first in B division, got to the playoffs, and in the battle to get to fight for the gold medal in the B division, they split the first 2 sets. So the last sets in volleyball are to 15, but if you play deciding set, sets in volleyball are to 25. If you play deciding set, it goes to 15. And it was a squeaker, but a heartbreak of a loss. But they did get to play for the bronze, and they had a wonderful match. Where in the first set, they were trailing 8-1, and came back to win it, and then take home the bronze in the B division at the Ontario Volleyball Association Fall Classic. Boom! Go Venom Cobras! So that was a delightful time. It was great as an uncle to be able to watch my nephew have success and be there and help celebrate. So that's fantastic good news. And I'm looking forward to the next time I get to see Team Venom play some volleyball because really, really good. It's incredibly entertaining. Um, yeah, Kitlinda, that's a heck of a team name, the Venom Cobras, and I think I really like it for volleyball. Because when you're jumping at the net and you spike real fast, just like makes me think of like a cobra going. Right? So I think the name actually works for a volleyball team. That's kind of cool. All right, kids and cubs, I do have a bit of news for you that I can bring you today. Um, some stuff, I'll try to keep some of it to Remembrance Day as much as I can so that we can have at least a little bit of a thematic theme here. One of the things is that happened last week is that um, there was a service in Belgium to honor Indigenous Canadians for Remembrance Day. Uh, all last week was Veterans Week, and during that specific week, there was Indigenous Veterans Day taking place as well. And in Belgium, they had a ceremony to honor Indigenous Canadians for their service. A national ceremony had been held to honor those specifically who had fought in the First World War, and some of their descendants were actually on hand for the ceremonies, which is pretty cool, I think. Now, at the ceremony, there was a plaque that was unveiled to honor an Indigenous veteran, and I believe he was Canada's first Indigenous police officer, which is pretty cool. But he was also an Olympic athlete and a member of the Red Pheasant Cree Nation. His name was Alex Decoteau. And the plaque was unveiled in the very spot that he was killed in action in Flanders Field. So according to the CBC here, Kayla Hounsell, and this is from November 8th, so it was a few days ago, she wrote, as a piper walked past row after row of people bundled up for a chilly November day, he played The Road to Passchendaele, a fitting tribute for a Canadian who died in the Battle of Passchendaele in 1917. In a national ceremony on Canada's Indigenous Veterans Day, the first time Belgium has ever marked the occasion, a plaque was unveiled honoring Alex Decoteau, Saskatchewan's Red Pheasant Cree Nation, in the very spot he was killed in action in Flanders Field. Quote, I'm very happy to be here to honor him as well as my family and Canada, said Decoteau's great-nephew, Rick Decoteau, who traveled from Fraser Lake, British Columbia, to help unveil the plaque. It was part of a week of commemorative events leading up to Remembrance Day on Monday, and part of Belgium's effort to recognize the roughly 4,000 First Nations Métis and Inuit soldiers from Canada who fought in the First World War. Decoteau was an Olympic runner and Canada's first Indigenous police officer. He served with the Edmonton Police Service before joining the Army. By 1914, he was promoted to sergeant and commanded his own police station, said Corporal Sergeant Major Christian LaForce of the Edmonton Police Service during this ceremony. Oh, sorry, it said Corps Sergeant, not Corporal, sorry. Decoteau is buried just 400 meters from the plaque at the Passchendaele New British Cemetery. Canadians, together with Flemish people, visited his grave to pray, smudge, and lay tobacco. Quote, know that they are not forgotten and that we will never forget, said Anishinaabe elder Debbie Eisen, her voice breaking with emotion as she stood over Decoteau's grave. Eisen is from Nova Scotia and also a 36-year veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. She was among the group that performed the Mi'kmaq Honor Song, a spiritual anthem performed at gatherings and celebrations at the Menengate Friday night. The names of 55,000 soldiers whose bodies were never found on the battlefields of Flanders are written on the Menengate, where every night since 1928 buglers have played the last post, the traditional salute to the fallen. Though it was not permitted during the Second World War, the tribute was performed during the COVID-19 pandemic. On Friday, Canadian Indigenous culture merged with the almost century-old tradition of honoring those who paid the ultimate price. Quote, I think it's huge because they recognized that not everybody is the same, said Eisen. We have different spiritualities and different cultures, and they respect that and they honor that. Visit Flanders invited the Canadian delegation, comprised of Indigenous people from Eastern and Western Canada, to honor two veterans, Decoteau and Sam Glode, a Mi'kmaq soldier from Nova Scotia's Acadia First Nation. Quote, it's important to make people aware that people from diverse backgrounds came to Flanders Fields to fight and strive for peace, said Viral Vienne, coordinator of Heritage for Visit Flanders, an organization that works to attract international visitors to the region. As Jeff Purdy retraced the steps of his great-great-grandfather Sam Glode in Belgium during the First World War, he marveled at the depth of the tunnels dug by his own flesh and blood beneath German lines. Quote, I've always wanted to come here to Belgium and to walk around, But I never dreamed that I'd be able to walk where Sam walked, he said, standing at the edge of a crater in Saint Éloi, Belgium, believed to be left behind after an explosive detonated in a tunnel his ancestor helped dig. Battlefield tour guide Erwin Uriel, a former soldier with the Belgian army and a volunteer with the Passchendaele Society, hadn't heard of Glode prior to learning about him from Canadian organizers. He then spent upward of 50 hours researching his story, using an interview Glode did in the 1940s and cross-referencing it with war diaries kept by every unit detailing their actions during the war. He was able to pinpoint Glode's steps with the Royal Canadian Engineers No. 1 Canadian Tunneling Company. He took the group where Glode fought in 1917's Battle of Messines, one of the most successful British operations on the Western Front before going on to Passchendaele and Vimy Ridge. Glode, who was in Belgium for about a year and a half, digging tunnels toward the enemy, deep under no man's land in perilous unclaimed territory between the opposing forces, planting explosives and waiting for just the right moment to detonate them. Quote, my interest was in minority groups in the Great War who were often forgotten or whose stories were more or less wiped out, said Uriel. He took the group to the aforementioned crater that Glode helped create. The soldiers knew when the mines were set to explode and were watching from a nearby hill. Quote, at 2:30 in the morning, there was a kind of thud. Then the ground shook to and fro like it was shivering. Then we saw flames shoot up high in the dark over the ridge, Sam Glode said in a 1944 interview in Cape Breton's magazine. Uriel also brought the group to a field where he believes Glode was caught in a tunnel collapse with 20 other men while digging under no man's land. In his 1944 interview, Glode described how he took a pick and began to tear a hole in the roof of the cave, trying to fight his way out for hours and hours, running out of air. Quote, I had to force myself to work, but I was desperate, and I was strong, he said. He said they were, quote, shook up bad, but were eventually rescued, and all of them survived. He was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal for bravery. Glode made it home to Nova Scotia and lived to be 79. He died in 1957 at Camp Hill Veterans Memorial in Halifax. But many of his comrades are buried at Ridgewood Military Cemetery in Ypres, Belgium. The Canadians who were on tour walked through the cemetery, stopping to place tobacco on the grave of an Ojibwe soldier, Private S. Comego Sum. Private S. Comego. Some were moved to tears. Purdy acknowledges that had Glode not been one of the lucky ones, he likely would be lying in that cemetery. Quote, the friendships that he created, his spirit still here, he said, grateful. His great-great-grandfather's story is being shared in Belgium. Quote, it's beautiful, right? It's emotional. But I'm one of my family. When you think nationally of the indigenous communities that gave up so much to come here to fight, it's very honoring. So that was a story that I had heard over the course of the week, and it really stuck with me when I heard it. So I wanted to make a note of it to share it with you. Get some cups. We have Kit T. Wigmore here say, wow, Belgium honoring Indigenous Canadian veterans. Good. And about time. Indeed. Indeed. And then, wow, what a ceremony. Yeah, it looks like it was that they went all out. Kitlinda M., that's impressive that they still know where he fell all those years ago. Indeed. Indeed. Take Wigmore, fantastic celebration of diversity among all who serve and sacrifice. Absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And then again, like Kajillian, this is such a good story. Kit Saucy said it's an excellent story as well. And Kit Mohan, indeed, very honoring. Yes. Also, for those who happen to be royal followers, the members of the royal family attended Remembrance Day ceremonies in London on Sunday. It was one of the first events for Catherine, Princess of Wales, after her cancer treatment this year, and it seems that she will be taking on more and more duties in coming weeks and months. A chest infection kept Queen Camilla. It's really weird for me to say. um, yeah, kept Queen Camilla from attending because she was resting at home on doctor's orders. But the commemorations in London were led by King Charles III, who laid the first wreath on the day. In Ontario, in small towns like Almont and Perth, if you happen to be walking through there, you might go through town and be seeing some banners on street poles, lamp posts, and stuff like that. And those, if you look up, you will see images of people and places and times. And that's part of a program that's called the Honoring Our Veterans Banner Program. And it's basically in many small towns. You will see some of them leave them up longer, some of them for shorter periods of time, but you'll see these banners where they have a photograph of a veteran with information as to where and where they served. The town of Perth, for example, has about 365 of them all throughout the town. Almont is another town in Ontario where you would see those, but there are um, many of them. There was a veteran, there is a veteran called Tom Nichols, who is who lives in Perth, and he says, "I was involved in flying pretty much all the aircraft they had, including supersonic jets to training aircrafts to the C-130 Hercules." Nichols was a 30-year pilot with the Royal Canadian Air Force, and when he talks about the program, he says it raised the profile of all the veterans. It's surprising how much goodwill and how many people you will see walking at night pointing up at the banner. That's my proudest moment. So, if you ever are in those small towns, uh, please do take the time uh, to check those out and to have a moment of recognition and thanks for the sacrifice and contribution to the nation. Um, there are other towns like Township of Cavan Monaghan, also another place where you can see them. Uh, Town called Uxbridge is another one. So they are in many different places across the province. Um, I'm trying to open up an article here from the Royal Canadian Legion talking about the program so that I can share it with you. But it is being a tad temperamental at the moment. So I will move on to another thing, and hopefully, in the meantime, that will happen. But another story you might be hearing in the news today is of a person in Newfoundland and Labrador who goes by the name of Ambrose Lucas. And Ambrose Lucas is a retired decorated combat medic who happened uh, to come to own a British war medal about a decade ago. And he has discovered to whom it was originally awarded, and he is now on a mission to return that medal from the First World War. He's quoted as saying, "My intention was to get information about the medal, get information about the owner." Uh, sorry, let me try that again. My intention was to get information about the medal, get information about the owner of the medal, and then hopefully someday find some members of the family and return the medal back to where it belongs. And he says that it is his hope that he will be able to do so personally. So if that happens, that would be just a beautiful moment, I think. There you go. Uh, according to the CBC, talking about the Banners program here, it's not the one from the Legion, but Robin Miller reports here. A heartfelt initiative is taking root in some small towns across eastern Ontario where light and hydro poles are being adorned with banners that pay tribute to local veterans. In Almont, 12 new banners now line the street in front of the cenotaph, acting as a visual reminder of the town's history and sacrifice. Quote, "I think our veterans are maybe being left in the past, and this just puts them out in front," said Peggy Byrne, who helped start the program. Byrne, and an executive at the Almont branch of the Royal Canadian Legion, said the interest in the program is growing and she expects volunteers will hang more banners next year. Families can sponsor a banner for a fee of $300, which covers the cost of printing, hardware, and installation. They're displayed from the third week in September until after Remembrance Day. Mary Rosenberg said it's a great way to honor the men and women who sacrificed so much for Canada. She worked with Byrne to develop the program after seeing something similar in New Brunswick. Her father, retired Lieutenant John Rosenberg, is a veteran who served as a peacekeeper with NATO in West Germany during the Cold War. Her daughter currently serves in the Royal Canadian Navy. Quote, I'm very proud of his service, and I'm very proud of my daughter's service as well, she said. Similar banner programs are in place in towns including Carleton Place, Smith Falls, Countville, and Perth, which I mentioned, where the program took off 4 years ago. So Perth is uh, the cradle of this initiative. Residents Sue Doran and Pat Loftus helped spearhead the initiative in Perth, where there are now 365 banners. Quote, it's and as I mentioned, um, the comment, sorry, I had misattributed it um, to Tony Nichols, but the comment I mentioned that said that the program raised the profile of all veterans, and it's surprising how much goodwill and how many people you will see walking in town and pointing up the banner. That's my proudest moment. That is a comment to Pat Loftus, who helped spearhead the initiative, and not Tony Nichols, who I'm sure his proudest moment certainly had laid elsewhere, as he probably was fighting. Doran said that there was so much interest, they quickly ran out of light poles to attach the banners to, and now they will start using hydro poles. Quote, we are a military town here in Perth, and just putting the notice up at the bulletin board at the Legion asking for interest, it was amazing the amount of people who wanted to do so, Doran said. Families in Perth can sponsor a banner for $275. Veteran Tony Nichols, who I mentioned before, had his photo displayed on a banner at the end of his driveway, right next to his grandfather. Oh, wow. His grandfather was Ernest George Port, and he fought in the Boer War with the British Army 2nd Battalion Royal East Kent Regiment. A lot of these are abbreviations, so I'm hoping that I get them right because I personally have no military background. Oh, my word. And Tony Nichols was with RCAF 25th NORAD Region 409 AWF Squadron. There you go. Quote, a lot of people don't recognize it because it's a picture of me when I was 27 years old. Being 84 now, it's a bit of a change, joked Nichols, a Royal Canadian Air Force pilot for 30 years. He sees the banners as an opportunity to share history with the next generation. Our town is like many other towns in Eastern Ontario, he said. A lot of banner programs are out there, and it's quite encouraging to see. As a veteran myself, I feel like I'm really connected with that. Organizers in Perth say any money left over after the banners are installed will go towards various programs that help veterans. There you go. And according to the Legion here, it says, and this is from 2002, Flying Officer Robert Lumgare of Morden, Manitoba is one of hundreds of veterans being remembered by the Memorial Banner Program organized by Legion branches across Canada. The banners pay tribute to local veterans and are displayed in communities for all to see. Many stories behind the names can be found on the Legion's branch website. Robert was the fourth son born to parents Robert W. and Hannah L. Lumgare in Morden, Manitoba. On the 20th of December 1940, Robert, along with his brother Norman, enlisted with the Royal Canadian Air Force. He spent the next 15 months training as a wireless operator air gunner in Canada and England. While on a training flight in England during the summer of 1942, Robert's aircraft crashed. The aircraft had a crew of 4, and he was one of 2 survivors. In July 1943, Robert survived a second crash and shot down his attacker, contributing to the success of his mission. That December, Robert was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. His parents received this letter signed by Charles G. Power, the Minister of National Defense for Air. Quote, as Air Gunner Warrant Officer Lumgare has taken part in a large number of sorties involving attacks on industrial centers in the Ruhr and many other targets of importance. He is a most conscious member of the aircraft crew, whose vigilance and skill have placed good part in the successes obtained during an operation against Hanover. In October 1943, his aircraft was attacked by a fighter. In the ensuing combat, Warrant Officer Lumgare displayed excellent judgment in directing the necessary evading tactics, afterwards using his guns to such good effort in unison with the rear gunner that the attacker was shot down in flames. His efforts contributed materially to the success of the sortie. By June 1944, Robert was commissioned to the rank of flying officer and completed 30 operations in the Second World War. When Robert returned home from the war, one of his first priorities was to marry the lady he could not forget about, Isabel Kunzelman. Robert and Isabel were married on the 6th of July, 1945, in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and they raised 3 children. Robert Olumgar passed away on the 2nd of July, 2012. He was 92. So there you go. And there are banner programs, not just in Ontario, but in many cities. So if you're in British Columbia, there is one in Chilliwack. In Alberta, Lethbridge, Devon, Okotoks, and Vermeer, High River, St. Paul Legion, and the Mayerthorpe Legion also are organizing initiatives. So if you want to help out there. In Saskatchewan, Yorkton, North Batterfield, and Carlisle, and there are programs being started by the Windward Legion, the Kelvington Legion, and the Watson Legion. So if you would like to support those initiatives, please reach out to them. In Manitoba, the Selkirk Legion is looking to join the program. So if you are interested in that, please contact them and let them know that you would like to get a banner. In Ontario, Lethbridge, Perth, Niagara Falls, Sault Ste. Marie, Cadmus, Casing, Casteller, Burlington, Collingwood, Orillia, Windsor, Niagara Falls, Little Current, Rockville, Petawawa, Clarington, Bancroft, Sault Ste. Marie, Oshawa, New Hamburg, St. Mary's, Tillsonburg, and Port Perry all have programs. And the legions in Mount Forest the legions in Mount Forest, Goderich, Brockville, Winchester, Bala, Perth, Carleton Place, Toronto, Madoc, Beaverton, Stittsville, Kemptville, and Fenelon Falls also have programs. In Quebec, you can find banners in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Saguenay, in Beauceville, and in Victoriaville. In New Brunswick, in Shediac, Salisbury, Sackville, and Grand Sault, Grand Falls. And finally, in Nova Scotia, in Yarmouth, Wedgeport and West Pubnico, North Sydney, and Windsor. So there you go. Please take some time if you are in those regions to check out those banners or to contribute to the program if you are able to in any way. That would be much welcome, and I'm sure the members of the Legion would be very, very, very happy to see the community participate in that way. Going back to the chat here, and please, kids and cubs, if you do have some stories of members of your family, whatnot, people that you want to give a shout out to, this would be the time to do so. So please here. Kid Saucy sent me an article from Alex Bowers. So I clicked on that and I'll see if I can put it into the show there today. Let's see. What else do we have here? Kit Moan saying it's never too late for acknowledgement. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. I agree. Kitsasi, the royal family may want to look at themselves and how they could change things in the world should they reconcile with Harry and Meghan, why it shouldn't affect the world it has. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great comment here. Kit Cassie, our rural towns have lamppost banners of local veterans in their service up around main streets. Good, nice to know that that's happening in Manitoba. Kid Jillian says, I've seen them in Barrie and Orillia. That's good. Good stuff there. Let's see, what else do we have here? Kitabiji, I really like the banners, faces to names. Indeed. I agree that. That's really, yep, putting the faces to the names. It brings the history to life, right? Let's see what else we have. Kit Moa and all the young men who never got a chance at life. Yes, some tears here. Kit Lindam, my husband still has his father's uniform ribbons from World War II. They were in an envelope and I mounted them and put them in a scrapbook for him. What a kind thing. That's wonderful. Huh. Nice. Nice move. Very thoughtful, Kid Linda. That's beautiful. Kid Saucy, my friend neighbor who has been invaluable to me that past week. Both her parents served in Afghanistan. Both have severe PTSD. Indeed. Kid Toronto Dan, I come from a serving family. Everyone besides myself served our country on one level or another. This is another reason why I do what I do without regard to myself. Thank you to those who served. Kid Cassie, I have the photo album from my grandpa's World War II naval service. He knew a photographer who was on the landing craft on D-Day and received copies. Huh. Okay, nothing to do with stories, but Kid Christian gives a recommendation, says the hot walk of birth has ridiculously amazing Asian cuisine, by the way. So we were talking about some food earlier, so I figured I would slip that in. Since we're making recommendations, right? Miss Shadika says, I found out recently that my great-great-grandfather on my grandmother's side died in World War II. My family is weird about family history. I never knew much. My nanny is sharing more now. Ah, that is fantastic. Lovely. I'm glad that your family is talking more. Please ask questions. This is the time. Do it. Kid Sassy. My mother was in the military. I was not keen on joining. It probably would have been good for me in some ways, but when the path, yes, chaotic, the path of chaotic growth, indeed. Kit Toronto Dan. My mom served on the Toronto Police Service from 1985 to 2017. Good morning, Kit, Miss Patty. Big kisses to you. Thank you. Um, let's see, what else do we have here? Bum, 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 bum. Ah, Mr. Jim, my grandfather, George Guernsey, was a private in the Hastings and Prince Edward Regiment in World War II. My uncle Herbert Johnston was RSM of the 1st Battalion of PPCLI. So I'm guessing that's Princess Patricia's some Canadian Light Infantry, enlisted in 1944. Please tell me if I got that wrong. And I'm not sure what RSM is. If you could say that, give us more details, Mr. Jim. RSM doesn't come to me at all uh, as what it might stand for. Miss Shadika. And my great grandfather, who I grew up around, was a chef in the war for Hungary before they left to come to Canada. Well, hey, how about that? And that's true, given that we're Canadians and we're such a diverse country, there are probably many of you that have people that have served for other nations that are not Canada somewhere along the way. Kitrano Dan. My grandfather and great uncle were in World War II. Great uncle was a prisoner of war for 5 years. He lived to tell the stories. Ooh, wow. Um, Kid P and say bio. I don't know who's talking about it. He's talking about Wilf here, but he says Wilf and a Dutch woman raised 8 in Vancouver after we liberated the Netherlands. Let's see what else. Boom, boom. Kit Carroll, Nona. Bless all those who have served and gave us the freedom we have today. And she gives them flowers. Kit Jillian, yes, your poem. I'm trying to see. Unfortunately, it has scrolled down uh, too far in the chat, and I took screen caps of it on the phone, but that's what I'm broadcasting, so I can't look at it right now. If you would care to send it again, if you would like me to read it in, if not, I would save it for when we do reschedule our show with our guest and read it in there. But if you would like me to read it today, please do put it back here in the chat, and I will. I'm so sorry. That the chat only holds a certain amount of conversations before some of it disappears. And the kids today have been very, very talkative, uh, for which I'm very, very grateful. Belinda M. My brother was a Marine and served tours in Vietnam. He had nightmares for decades afterwards. Yes. Mr. Jim, my father, Donald Johnston, was in the RCAF, Royal Canadian Air Force, for 30 years. Wow. Kit Carroll says that the posts on Twitter today are great. Cool. Kitlinda M. We need to remember that these were people and not just numbers. Absolutely. Kid Saucy. Alex Bowers recently came here from the UK. He writes for the Legion magazine. He's looking for a permanent place to live in Nova Scotia. Should everything work out with immigration, he's a great follow. Then I will be following that your recommendation, Kit Saucy. Once we end the show, I will go find him and give that his profile a click on the follow button. Kit Cassie says, my granddad signed up for the Royal Canadian Air Force, but was transferred to the Navy like a lot of Prairie Boy volunteers to fill the ranks. Imagine landlocked boys, farm boys at sea. Oh, man. Kit Moan says, thank you for your service, Christian. Oh, Jillian, my uncle was awarded the Victoria Cross. He was a pilot in the RCAF. There you go. That as well. Let's see, what else do we have? Wow, you kids are really contributing today. Thank you so much. That definitely makes things easier for me today. Kid Tom goes, went out for a walk, came back, and my computer is talking to me in Doug's voice. Welcome back, sir. Welcome back, sir. Glad you can join us. Mr. Jim, SM, RSM, Sergeant Major is the rank, Regimental Sergeant Major is the position. So there you go. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Appreciate that. Kid Sassy, you are not talking too much. Trust me, I'm finding this very, very, very helpful. Oh, Kid P and say bio when he's talking about wealth from the Heritage Minute. Yes. Yes. Okay. There you go. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay. And we have it, Kid Jillian. Wrote a poem. And I was very moved by it, actually. And I asked her on the chat before we went live whether or not she would grant me permission to read it. And she has said yes. So she is sending it right now as we speak. And I will wait till a couple more of them come in just so I don't read faster. Then Kid Jillian can either copy or paste or type all over again. All right, let's see what else do we have here. Mr. Jim says, call the names. Kid Christian goes, my RSM was a warrant officer. There you go. All right. So this is from Kit Jillian. Ponder here the essence of evil. Beguiling and, sorry, let me try that again. Ponder here the essence of evil. Beguiling and pervasive, cloaking its malign purpose in the guise of mundane lives, striving for purity, adherents plot to foment strife. Pitching its ideology, their audience becomes complicit in convincing us they are just like you and me. They cloak their zeal with earnest pleas for the preservation of their kind, phrases that carefully imprint their message upon others of like mind. Cinematic dramas, enacting battles long since won, employ percussive fanfares, drumbeats warn. Danger comes. Grim tales of past purges bear witness and rebuke us. This way evil takes control. See, it happens once again. Unwitting, we are blind, impervious to dissuasion. It is not too late to cast off our complacency. We must accept that malice has taken root. It festers everywhere. Lest we forget, our solemn pledge will not suffice if we fail to take a stand against the rot. Democracy demands constant vigilance, participation. We must expose the machinations of supremacy's last stand, lay bare their fallacies. Let's spread healing throughout the land. Just decided not to say anything for a couple of seconds to allow that to hit. Thank you so much, Kit Jillian, for those words, and I hope that my reading did them justice, and that you are pleased. Yeah, we have to. It's eyes wide open time, and this is kind of an interesting Remembrance Day, considering everything, like all the things that are going on in the world right now. It seems to be darker and heavier than usual. So more than ever, right? Eyes wide open and recommitting, because and this is something I heard today. This is not my original thought, but can't remember where I heard it. But I think I mentioned earlier about when authoritarianism appears to be around the corner. the importance of not signaling in advance that you are going to obey. You're not obeying in advance. If I remember correctly, you know what? I think I remember where I may have seen this. I think it may have not been something I heard, but something I read. And if that's the case, I actually might be able to find it. But it's about the importance of not capitulating in advance, not letting the people who seek the power and seek the power over you to know that they don't even have to put up a fight to get it, that you're just going to roll over before. We're not supposed to make it easy for them, right? So always, always beware of those who are very quick and very, very eager to comply, particularly in the face of authoritarianism. It's not time to send the signal already that you've given up. That's not helpful. It doesn't help anyone. So you need to take time. That's normal and that's understandable in order to be able to regroup and experience your feelings and all of that type of stuff. But other than that, no, do not comply in advance. Do not obey in advance. Do not send the signal that you are going to be helpful. Right? This is there's a man named uh, Timothy Snyder who has a book that's called On Tyranny: 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. And he's the one, he has something out on YouTube that I will, why is everything? I'm having a hard time. So, he is, he has a video, and I'm hoping to find it for you so I can send you the link. Not all that long. It's about 7 minutes or something. I mean, he's got a longer one that's an hour and 22 minutes. That's a big one. But lesson 1: do not obey in advance. And I will post it right here in the chat on YouTube for you kids to take a look at. But you don't want so just always beware of those that are taking the position. This is inevitable, so we might as well make the best of it and just adapt to this new world or to these new rules. Right? It's you don't want to. You just don't want to capitulate in advance. It's not right. He says here, it is not the ordinary that drives us, but our emotions, especially fear and greed. To focus such drives, we look to leaders who often manipulate these emotions and our tribal instincts to harness against us some demonized other, like the Jew for the Nazis, or the Rwandan Tutsi for the Hutus, or people of color for the white supremacists. When people find themselves in difficulties, they tend to look outside themselves for the cause, and anyone who can pick out a cause, such as the European Union for the British or the influx of Latino migrants for the Americans, can become the leader of a tribe of discontented followers. These followers are people of feeling, not moved by reason. They may be disconnected with their lives for a host of different reasons, but a talented leader will focus on a cause which will inflame their emotional arousal. Kids and cubs, I'm just going to move this over to the front screen so that I can be looking directly at the camera here instead. There we go. This has a long history. It happened through the ages whenever a religion was hijacked by greedy priests for purposes of power. It happened in the 20th century with disastrous consequences when Mussolini, Hitler, and Stalin came to power, leaders with ideologies which we can see now as political cults. Cults built on fear and greed, all with the consent of the majority, who thus found themselves trapped in a collective trance. In On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century, Timothy Snyder warns that it is happening now, that the wave of discontent and division that is washing over the Western world will lead to a loss of liberty unless it is checked. He warns that our democratic heritage does not necessarily protect us from this threat, that democracies can fall to be replaced by gulags and men with guns. Snyder, who teaches history at Yale, received the Hannah Arendt Prize in 2011 for his book Bloodlands, Europe Between Hitler and Stalin, about the ideologically driven murder of 14 million people. Then in 2017, he wrote On Tyranny as a warning against the increase in totalitarian politics sweeping the United States of America and other parts of the world. Warnings such as Snyder's book can help us be more aware of how we respond to emotional appeals like these, and can therefore help us to consciously respond to difficult times in a more positive fashion. In the 20th century, European democracies collapsed into fascism, Nazism, and communism. These political systems promised to protect their people against existential threats. They rejected reason in favor of a myth. The fascists and Nazis rejected reason in exchange for the leader's will. The communists used reason to work towards a mythical future foretold by the supposedly fixed laws of history, inevitably resulting in the replacement of capitalism with socialism, the ultimate triumph of the working class. Individuals were willing to give up personal responsibility for their lives and leave it to the state to decide. This history shows how easy it is for societies to break down, democracies to fall, and ethics to collapse. History may not repeat, but knowledge of history can familiarize and it can warn. By revealing what has happened before, it can help us resist the advance of despotism. On Tyranny puts forward 20 lessons on how to protect against tyranny. To give you a flavor, here are 9 of them. 1. Do not obey in advance. Most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without even being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. That was the quote I had seen earlier. You don't want to teach power what it is you will allow it to do to you. 2, defend institutions. It is institutions that help us to preserve decency. They need our help as well. Do not speak of our institutions unless you make them yours by acting on their behalf. Institutions do not protect themselves. So choose an institution, say the CBC, for example, you care about and take its side. Beware the one-party state. The parties that remade states and suppressed rivals were not omnipotent from the start. They exploited a historic moment to make political life impossible for their opponents, so support the multi-party system and defend the rules of democratic elections. 4, stand out. Someone has to. It's easy to follow along. It can feel strange to do so or say something different, but without that unease, there is no freedom. Remember Rosa Parks? The moment you set an example, the spell of the status quo is broken and others will follow. Believe in truth. To abandon facts is to abandon freedom. If nothing is true, then no one can criticize power because there is no basis upon which to do so. If nothing is true, then all is spectacle. The biggest wallet pays for the most blinding lights. You submit to tyranny when you renounce the difference between what you want to hear and what is actually the case. I'll repeat that. You submit to tyranny when you renounce the difference between what you want to hear and what is actually the case. I'm sure that there's a lot of us that have seen many examples of this recently. 6, investigate. Figure things out for yourself. Spend more time with long articles, subsidize investigative journalism by subscribing to print media. Realize that some of what is on the internet is there to harm you. Learn about sites that investigate propaganda campaigns, some of which come from abroad. Take responsibility for what you communicate to others. 7. Learn from peers in other countries. Keep up your friendships abroad or make new friends abroad. The present difficulties in the United States are an element of a larger trend, and no country is going to find a solution by itself. Make sure you and your family have passports. 8. Be calm when the unthinkable arrives. Modern tyranny is terror management. When the terrorist attack comes, remember that authoritarians exploit such events in order to consolidate power. Do not fall for it. 9. Be as courageous as you can. If none of us is prepared to die for freedom, then all of us will die under tyranny. Dang. Dang. That's powerful. Whew. Linda M says Timothy Snyder has a new book out called On Freedom. Ooh, good. I'll have to check that out. He's not a difficult read, by the way. Get some cups. So please indulge if you want to know more. Let's see, Kid Saucy. Yeah, I am of the mind that the rules protect them as much as me, and not all centrists and leftists are bitches. That is true. That is indeed true. Ah, man. Let's see, what else do we have here? PNC Bio, Snyder, Applebaum, Bengate, Albright. There's great scholarship on fascism. Indeed. Tavi G. I like Timothy Snyder's work, and that book is very insightful. Good stuff. Kit Sassy, we are splintered and need to focus locally to make communities strong. It will be hard, but it is necessary. Kill and them, protect them whether they want it or not, as fascists do. Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Kajillion, somehow I feel Trump persuaded enough voters to do exactly that. Yeah. Kitlandam, be August Landmaster, the guy in the picture who refused to salute Hitler. Yes, indeed. He wasn't afraid to stand out, was he? Tom Trask, Kit Tom. And the sad part is that the oligarchs won't suffer in the least when fascism is finally overpowered. Indeed. Kit playing with 3D did agree that certain things I was mentioning did indeed sound familiar and pertinent. Kit Lori Sue, what a country permits, it promotes. That could not be more glaringly, clearly obvious now in the US. Kit Pince by Umberto Eco. Fascism is a powerful, yes. Umberto, yeah, we refer to the hit often, his 14-point checklist. And Eco grew up in Mussolini's Italy. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that, PNC Bio. That's true. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, that's pretty cool. All the kids. Right, good. I got all the kids stuff in here. All right, I believe I might have one more thing. Do I? No, I do not, I believe. All right, so I think that's all I have for today, kids. I'll just take a little look through the iPolitics thing. Oh yes, absolutely. I should give you a little rundown on some of the things that are scheduled today officially, because I mean, you know, it doesn't need a political show. It be some political events. Hold on, kids and cups for a second while I clear my throat. Oh well. I was trying to press the cough button, but I think you guys got the last little bit of that, unfortunately. So according to whoops. Oh, don't give me a video. I can't do anything with a video. All right. Well, that didn't work. Okay, get some cups. You know what? I will do the extra, and then if I can find out what those things are, I will put them in the Easter egg for you. That'll probably be a smarter way to go about that. So, kids and cubs, that is the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you loved listening to us because we enjoyed making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Now, if you would like to support us by, for example, not wanting to miss a single episode, well, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, because the Ray Girl has sponsored our pod page. Podpage.com/ the true North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you go there or click the QR code, scan the QR code, I should say, that has just appeared on the screen. If you go there, you will find the subscribe button. And if you click that, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. No fuss, no muss, almost like magic. Now, if you would like to help us and support us in other ways, kids and cubs, then you need to make like Kit Elaine and surf yourself on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page where you will find our buttons like, share, and subscribe. Please click them. Please click them because that makes us very happy when you do. Thank you so much for that. And if you would like to help us in other ways, for example, by helping us to underwrite the financial costs that we incur in bringing this show to you, then we would be very grateful for your support and encouragement. And you can do that by going to our coffee page. You can scan the QR code that just appeared there, or you could go to coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And if you leave us a little something there, it goes to the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where it keeps your favorite creators nice and moist so that we can bring this show to you 5 days a week and with a couple of extra specials now and then too, right? So if you wanted to encourage us and help us out, please leave a little something there. We are very grateful for everything that you're able to contribute. Now, please, kids and cubs, if you are not able to contribute a thing, please do not worry. That does not matter because the gift of your participation and the gift of your attention is the one that we cherish the most. And we love to hear from you. So please write to us at truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com, on our Twitter feed at TrueEager, our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or if you happen to be listening on YouTube, leave us some comments here, right down below. Thank you so much. I would like that very much. And that Mr. Jim here says that he smashed the button before I showed up today. Aren't you an eager beaver? Mr. Jim says, thank you for the bonus content. Thank you so much. It's actually you guys, uh, got me to come because you were saying such lovely things. So I figured I could probably scramble a few things together. Not as smooth as our usual shows, but hopefully, Kids and Cubs, still a good show for you. So thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. You guys have made me feel very, very, very good today. So I appreciate it. All right, where was I in the intro? Yeah, so coffee is where you can support us. Coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. Because democracy is something that you do if you live in Nova Scotia, kids and cubs. Yeah, you have a provincial election going on, so please research your candidates. If there's one that you like and you particularly want to support, do some phone banking, knock on some doors, stuff some envelopes, that type of stuff. Please let it be known that you are willing to help. If Elections Nova Scotia happens to be looking for some polling station workers, please let them know that you might be interested. It's something everybody should do at least once in their life to see the democratic process in action. It's a really great day. It's a long day, but it's a great day. And you end the day feeling very, 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 very good about yourself. So please have a look into that. Right? We haven't been able to talk too much about the issues in that one election, but hopefully we'll be able to get more to that during this week. I've been trying to follow some stuff, but it's been relatively uneventful, except for the first day where there's some weird stuff. Some people made some. There's some images with people who had made some very questionable and objectionable sartorial choices. We'll just say that's about the biggest issue that I've seen coming out of it. But I know that there's more stuff. Oh yes, one of the members of the NDP party made some comments that were not well received about the whole thing in Israel and Palestine, and the party has accepted that candidate's resignation, and as the nomination deadline has passed, the party will not be able to replace the candidate in that electoral district, but I think it's still going to be done in time enough to alert Elections Canada so the name could be removed off the ballot, I think. But I'll have that more on that tomorrow, and over the coming weeks and stuff. But we haven't forgotten about the Nova Scotia elections. There's just so much going on. Kit Saucy says, working at a polling station is quite fun. Bring good shoes and a decent lunch. Indeed. 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 And Miss Shadika, thank you, Douglas. Even though I missed the latter half, lots going on today for Monday. And what a weird morning. It has been a very, very weird morning. Trust me. And I say, don't ask me how I came to that conclusion this morning, but it has been so freaking weird. So, Kitsasi, thank you. I needed this. I'm glad to help. I needed this too. Kid Jim. It's not about smooth, it's about family. You know what? I think I'm going to take that one to heart, Kid Jim. I think I'm going to take that one to heart. You're right. It's not about smooth. It is about family. I agree. All right. Democracy is something that you do. I did that part. Words of wisdom. Ah, boy. I don't have much today, to be totally honest. Words of wisdom. These are probably more for myself. You can't always be at your best. And sometimes when you're not at your best, you don't make the best decisions and you don't say the wisest things. And I've had a couple of incidences of that over the past few days. And I am thinking about how to do better. So, if you recently have had a moment in your life where if you do the mirror test, it's you yourself in the mirror, and you're not necessarily as proud of yourself as you would like to be, admit that, and then figure out what it is that you can change to be able to have a better reaction in the moment at that time. So, for those with whom I was short or not my usual cheery self over the past while, I deeply and sincerely and wholeheartedly and unreservedly, without excuse, apologize. All right. There you go, kids and cubs. A little cryptic, I know, but yeah, it's been a hard one. This year has not been an easy year. I will just say, but this year has been an oasis of sanity in all the storm, and that is one of the reasons for which I am so grateful. All right, kids and cubs, I think it is time to cue the cock, and hopefully while all that is running, I'll be able to find some Remembrance Day activity and ceremony information for you. All right, so let's see what I can do. I believe it is this one. It's hard on the phone because they're not really well marked, so I'm guessing.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
All right, kids and cubs. I think I have managed to find a few things. So please bear with me while we're a little choppy, but we will have some stuff for you right here. According to the Winnipeg Sun, hosted by the Joint Veterans Association of Manitoba, the largest ceremony in the province will be held at the RBC Convention Centre with doors open at 9:30 a.m. The ceremony begins at 10:40 a.m. and is expected to end at about 12:30 p.m. The Royal Winnipeg Rifle Service takes place at Vimy Ridge Memorial Park off Portage Avenue, I should say, sorry. That's the French in me again. I remembered. Portage Avenue. The program runs from 10:30 a.m. to 11:40 a.m. A service at Annabet's Unit 283 Assiniboia at 3584 Portage Avenue begins at 10:40 a.m. with doors open at 9:30 a.m. Post-service activities take place from 12:45 p.m. to 6 p.m. HMSC Chippewa hosts the ceremony at 1 Navy Way at 10:30 a.m. with doors opening a half hour later. The Minto Armories Memorial at 969 St. Matthews Avenue runs from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. with doors open at 9 a.m. A commemoration service is being held at the Cenotaph at the St. Norbert Cemetery beginning at 10:45. The Charleswood Legion 11 will host a ceremony at Oak Park High School, which starts at 10 a.m. and will last for 2 hours. Many other Canadian legions will also hold events with Royal Canadian Air Force conducting flypasts over ceremonies at Oak Parks, St. James and Bruce Park, Vimy Ridge Park, HMSC Chippewa, Transcona, and the Henderson locations. If you are in Edmonton, the City Hall service will be held in the City Room starting at 10 a.m. and will be led by the commanding officer of the Loyal Edmonton Regiment. Seating will start at 9:15 on a first-come, first-served basis. An outdoor procession to City Hall Cenotaph and at Sir Winston Churchill Square will take place after the service. If capacity inside is reached, people can take in the event outside the large screen set up near the cenotaph. On Monday, the high-level bridge, Waterdale Bridge, City Hall, Muttart Conservatory, Edmonton Tower, and Rossdale Power Plant will all be lit red for Remembrance Day. The Loyal Edmonton Regiment Military Museum, located in the Prince of Wales Armories Heritage Centre at 10440 108 Avenue, will be open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and will observe a traditional minute of silence at 11 a.m. Guests can take in the exhibits and galleries at the museum, including a military vehicle display by the Valor Park Association. And the Beverly Memorial Cenotaph Remembrance Day ceremony begins with a 9:30 a.m. church service at Marantha Christian Reformed Church, 11907 47th Street, accompanied by a parade to the Beverly Memorial Cenotaph beginning at 10:20 a.m., followed by a service at the Cenotaph starting at 10:50. If you happen to be in Nova Scotia, CBC will be live streaming the event at Grand Parade in Halifax, which is scheduled to begin shortly before 11 a.m. The ceremonies mark a return to the downtown Halifax after the 2023 event was moved to Sullivan's Pond in Dartmouth due to Grand Parade being a designated encampment site amid the city's housing crisis. The municipality closed the site to tents last winter. Mi'kmaq elder Marlene Companion is scheduled to perform a smudging ceremony, a first for the Remembrance Day event at Grand Parade. Jean Noel, or Jean Noel, I'm not sure here, will lay a wreath in memory of Jean Noel will lay a wreath in memory of her brother, Master Corporal Kirk Bradley Noel, who is this year's Memorial Cross recipient. He served in the Navy before becoming a search and rescue technician. Noel was killed in 2006 during a training exercise when a Cormorant helicopter crashed off Canso, Nova Scotia. The Royal Canadian Legion has a list of ceremonies across the province, and people can search for the gathering close to them. They include 9 in the Halifax Regional Municipality, 8 in Cape Breton, and more than a dozen in communities across the mainland. And since they suggested here, I am going to take a moment, kits and cabs, and see if there's anything in that list that I can add to the program here for you. So I might come back to that in a couple of seconds. All right. What else do we have here? From CTV here. Today, Canadians will remember and honor the sacrifice of men and women in uniform who gave their lives in service of the country's values and principles. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Governor General Mary Simon are both expected to pay their respects in a ceremony at the National War Memorial in Ottawa. They will join by this year's Silver Cross Mother Maureen Anderson from New Brunswick, whose 2 sons, Sergeant Ron Anderson and Sergeant Ryan Anderson, both served in Afghanistan. Anderson, whose sons both died after a battle with post-traumatic stress disorder, will represent the mothers left behind by all service members killed in the line of duty. The mournful sound of the last post will also be heard at countless other cenotaphs and monuments across the country as Canadians take a moment at 11 a.m. to pay silent respects to the fallen. The ceremonies will also honor members of Canada's armed forces who continue to serve today. That's what we have from CTV. Going back to see. Okay, there is no additional information that I can add value for you, kids and cubs, about ceremonies at Legions in Nova Scotia. So just wanted to close off the bookend there. If you happen to be in Toronto, ceremonies across the city will start with a sunrise. Well, that's probably already happened now. A sunrise observance at Prospect Cemetery on St. Clair Avenue West. The 96th annual service began at 8 a.m. with Mayor Olivia Chow in attendance. In Brampton, Meadowdale Cemetery also held a sunrise ceremony at 8 a.m. This year marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day, 10 years since the end of the Canadian peacekeeping mission in Afghanistan and the centennial of the Royal Canadian Air Force. The City of Toronto will hold a Remembrance Day ceremony at Old City Hall Cenotaph on Queen Street West from 10:45 a.m. until noon. Silent sentries from the 48th Highlanders of Canada will stand vigil at the cenotaph wearing uniforms from different historical periods, and the ceremony will be live streamed on YouTube. Here and at Kits and Cubs, I will put the link in the chat here for you, for those of you who would like to tune into that. Weather permitting, the Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association will conduct a fly past with a symbolic missing man formation over Old City Hall at 11:05, East York Civic Center at 11:08 a.m., and York Cemetery at 11:25 a.m., the city said. The Harvards were used to train members of the Royal Canadian Air Force and other air forces for air combat in the Second World War, the city said. An exhibit outlining the history of the war in Afghanistan as it relates to Toronto is on display at City Hall until November 11th. At Queen's Park, the province is holding a ceremony at the Ontario Veterans Memorial. The ceremony, which starts at 10:45 a.m., will be live streamed on the province's YouTube channel in English and in French. And I will do this as well. Here we go. In English, that's the link right there, Kids and Cubs. And this coming up right now is the link for those of you qui préféreriez regarder les cérémonies en français. There you go. This year, the University of Toronto is observing 100 years since the completion of Soldiers Tower, a bell and clock tower at the university's downtown campus. The tower is a memorial to 628 students, faculty, staff, and alumni who died serving in the First World War, and to the 557 people affiliated with the university who died in the Second World War. The school will hold a remembrance service at 10:20 a.m. at Hart House Circle. Students and staff from the Claude Watson School for the Arts in North York will host an assembly to honor veterans, which will include a woodwind ensemble, concert band, and a performance about unity and peace sung by the entire school, according to the Toronto District School Board. The assembly will start at 10:30 a.m. The Toronto Zoo is hosting its 39th Remembrance Day ceremony at the zoo's Waterside Theatre starting at 10:55 a.m. Veterans in uniform will receive free zoo admissions and parking on Monday. Serving members in uniform of the Canadian Armed Forces, as well as police, fire, and paramedic services, will also receive free admission and parking according to the zoo's website. The general public will receive a 50% discount on admission Monday, the zoo said. At 11 a.m., the TTC will pause all services for 2 minutes of silence. All current members of the Canadian Armed Forces in uniform, as well as war and peacekeeping veterans wearing military service medals or ribbons, can ride the TTC for free on Monday, the TTC said in a news release. And I believe the same is also applies for the GO train service. The Royal Canadian Legion has a tool on their website to help you find a Remembrance Day ceremony happening to you. And then there are some road closures in Toronto: Bay Street from Albert Street to Richmond Street West, local access only to Albert Street from Bay Street southbound, and Queen Street West from Bay Street to the east of York Street will be closed. And finally, nationally, CBC News will be marking Remembrance Day on Monday with special local and national coverage. This year marks a number of anniversaries for Canadian veterans: 80 years since D-Day, marking the beginning of the end of the Second World War, 10 since the end of the mission in Afghanistan, 60 years of peacekeeping operations in Cyprus, and the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Air Force. So a lot of things to mark today. If you can't, as we mentioned, here in Halifax, everything starts at 10:55 a.m. Live streaming for Halifax will start at 10:45 a.m. So tune into cbc.ca/ns to be able to find that, and it should also be on CBC Gem. Rosemary Barton will host special coverage live from the National War Memorial in Ottawa with analysis and historical perspective from Tim Cook, Chief Historian and Director of Research at the Canadian War Museum. The ceremony starts at 11 a.m. Atlantic time, 11:30 a.m. Newfoundland time. The special is available and will be the special is available with described video and closed captioning on CBC TV and CBC News Network. You can stream it on your local CBC streaming channel or on a smart TV. Online, you can find CBC News live coverage of the ceremony on GEM News Explorer, the CBC News app, cbcnews.ca, CBC News on YouTube and TikTok, and you can also stream the special on your local CBC streaming channel on a smart TV. If you're listening to the radio, join the current Matt Galloway and World Report host Marcia Young as they host the Remembrance Day ceremony live beginning at 10:55 a.m. Eastern Time, 11:55 a.m. Atlantic, and 12:25 Newfoundland and Labrador. I do not know why they're giving only times for eastward, but there you go. All CBC News coverage will include a moment of silence and the laying of a wreath by this year's Silver Cross. So there you go, kids and cubs. That's the information that I was able to pick up for you very quickly. And then again, for those wondering, I'm not sure if this is information only for Ontario or for Canada, but because it's Remembrance Day and there are events going on, but there's a lot of things that are also closed today. So please know that it's not a business as usual day here. Canada Post is closed on Monday. There will be no collection or delivery of mail. Private sector deliveries will operate as normal. So if you're doing Purelator or UPS DHL, that's quite fine. All major banks will be closed, but ATMs and online banking services should be available. Federal government services and offices will be closed today. Groceries and pharmacies should be operating at regular hours. And I believe, at least in Ontario, I'm not sure if this is the case for other places, but beer store and LCBO locations will be closed until noon today. So there you go, kids and cubs. That is everything. A longer Easter egg, but I was able to find the information during the bumpers that I was not able to find during the show. And there you go. Was able to get this very important information to you. Kids and cubs, before we go, also just like to take a moment because a lot of you have been sharing about your family members as well. And I have one as well. Kitlin Nam says, yeah, if you can tune into the Remembrance Day ceremony televised from Ottawa, if you can attend one in person today, please do. Yes. So my brother, Dwayne, served in the Canadian military. He's part of the Airborne for a while before the unit got disbanded. He did serve in Somalia, he did serve in Bosnia, he did serve in Afghanistan. He was also a military policeman for a while, but his service did not end with Canada. After he left the Canadian military, he worked internationally for the UN forces, and also worked in Africa. I believe he might have been the regional commander for the UN forces in Africa at one point in his career. Um, so he's a gentleman when it came to service to the country who really did walk his talk. And I'm not saying did past tense because he's not with us. He is still alive and well and with us and has a beautiful family. Um, but he started as a cadet when he was 16, and he's about 4 years older than I am. So um, he's already, he's not, I don't even think he's 55 yet, and he's already had 35 years in. Let's put it that way. So he walked his talk. Dwayne, you have all my love, all my respect, and thank you for absolutely everything. I don't know all of the stories, but I know Somalia in particular was difficult considering what happened there. So, like I said, you have my love, and I'm holding you in my arms, and I'm saying thank you. All right, there you go. Okay, kids and cubs. I think I have absolutely done everything I intended to do today. Thank you so much for joining us for this. I'm just taking a look through the comments in the chat to make sure I don't miss anything from you guys that would be important to the theme of the show today, because if you have given a shout out to somebody, then I definitely want to make sure that it gets read in here, because I definitely wouldn't want your loved ones, the ones you care about, to be left out. Yes, Kitlan Dan, yes, thank you for reminding us of this. And contrary to the lies of the Conservative Party of Canada, there will be prayers offered at the official ceremonies. Andrew Scheer and friends and all of them did the same thing they do last year and the same thing they do every year, a couple of days before Remembrance Day. Start spreading the rumor that the evil liberals and progressives and leftists have banned prayer, which is never the case. There's always tons of prayer. It's just that they are non-denominational prayer so that everybody can feel included and participate. They do it every year, and they don't feel shameless. They don't feel any shame at all. They just lie. So don't fall for that. And don't take the bait. Kids and cubs on that one. Let's see what else do we have here from the kids. Nishatika, I love when Douglas takes over because he has so much to say and has a hard time ending it. Yeah, all of this stuff actually would have been included in the regular show, to be totally honest. It's just that I didn't have it in time. So the Easter egg would have been a whole lot shorter otherwise. But now, this is for real, for real, for real, right? For real. For real. The end of the show. So, all of you have a most be perfect day. Take a moment to say thank you. However it is, whether you go, you don't, whether or not you do it alone, or whether or not you go do something public. Yeah, today's a day for gratitude. So let's all put a little gratitude in our attitude. Wishing you a lovely day. We will see you tomorrow, hopefully with a new computer set up. If not, I'll be back here on phone. But I will work to try to get the new computer set up as fast as possible with my very limited skills. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.